Hi, it's Ashleigh from Sweet Dreams Bake Shop, and welcome back to my channel where I make a lot of cake and cookie decorating tutorials as well as give a lot of baking business tips. And today we are back for another day of Vlogmas and the 25 days of cupcake decorating. And today we're going to be making this adorable and super easy Santa cupcake. This is perfect for beginners, and it's also perfect if you don't have a lot of cake tools. You're going to need some peachy brownish fondant, white fondant, black fondant, and red fondant for this tutorial. You can also use modeling chocolate. I do find it's easier with fondant though. You can buy all of these colors of fondant pre-mixed already, or you can just buy white fondant and use Fondust. Highly recommend Fondust as the product to dye your fondant. Otherwise, you're going to run into problems with stickiness. I also mixed in some shortening with my fondant. You want to do a little bit at a time until it feels pliable enough and smooth enough, but not so that it's falling apart in an oily mess in your hands. If you're finding that the fondant is sticking to your surface, then just put a little bit of cornstarch down. You'll notice the first few steps really just rely on me using a circular cookie cutter and then cutting out my shapes. I chose my cookie cutter size based on how big the top of my cupcake is. I'm also adhering all of my fondant together with just a little bit of water. You do not need edible glue for this. Because it's flat, it makes it really easy to just adhere everything with a splash of water, and not too much or else you're going to get a lot of slipping and sliding everywhere. This is one of the few parts of the tutorial where you're actually going to have to mold the fondant into a shape. You can do this with cutting it out with an X-Acto knife or a pen blade, but I just like to do it with my hands. That way it keeps that puffy nature that I want on this cupcake topper. Whenever you're making two of something, always take one solid ball of the fondant and then cut it in half. That way it's going to be nice and even when you place it on. And we do want the sides of his mustache here to be fairly equal. Again, adhering everything together with just a little bit of water, but sometimes you might find that you don't even need to add any water to your fondant. It might be just sticky enough. Then using the same color that we used for the base of the face, we're going to create a nose. And again, I'm just making a little ball, making it an oval shape kind of, but you could leave it as a very perfect ball if you would like to. Also, one little tip I should give you is that you do want to make sure you move around the disc from time to time, especially if you are just working on the same surface. Sometimes, depending on where you live and depending how you heat your home, it could end up sticking to that bottom portion and then you won't be able to lift up your disc at all. So move it around from time to time just to make sure it's not sticking. I wanted to keep Santa's hat super simple, so I'm keeping everything flat, but you could easily make this a little bit more of a pop out if you wanted to, and you could also add on the pom-pom. At the beginning of this tutorial, I promised you that you really don't need any fancy cake tools, so I'm using a cake tool, but you could easily use a toothpick or a sharp end of a skewer to do that. For Santa's eyes, roll up two equal balls of black fondant and then flatten them out with your fingers. I'm keeping his eyes really nice and round and adding a white glint. I find if I don't add that glint, he tends to look a little bit scary, but to each their own. I don't know what type of Santa you're making. I wanted to put some lines into the mustache portion, but leave everything else fairly untextured. I'm using Italian meringue buttercream, but you can go ahead and use whatever buttercream that you desire. You can go ahead and check out my buttercream series in the right-hand corner if you can't decide what you want to use. Just make sure that you pipe with a round tip, keep things nice and flat, and then place that fondant topper on there. You will want to let it dry a little bit. Overnight is not necessary, but you can definitely leave it to dry overnight as well. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you can be part of the Sweetie fam. Right now, I'm uploading every single day for Vlogmas, so I will see you tomorrow. And if you're sad that this video is over, do not fret, because over on my baking podcast channel, we are also uploading every single day. Bye!